Hello, hello, hello. Welcome back to Continental Club, where we round up the hottest topics in European football. As you can see, Chris Hamill is not here. He is in Leicester. Pato's having a lie-in, so I'm joined by Joe Tomlinson as usual and Michael MC McCubbin. Without further ado, lads, let's get stuck into the first question, and it comes from Abitash Badan. And he says, Bayern has roped in an inexperienced coach and brought in young players. Does that mean the Bundesliga will be more competitive this year? McCubbin, what are you thinking about Bayern Munich and their general situation this summer?
Yeah, I mean, I'm quite kind of inclined to agree with Abitesh on this. I think the Bundesliga may well be more competitive next year. I think to call Niko Kovac inexperienced maybe is a bit harsh. Obviously, he managed Croatia before, took them to the Euros where they were very impressive. I don't think he was in charge of them at the Euros, but he was during the qualification process. And then obviously did a sterling job with Eintracht Frankfurt when they did Pokal last year. Developed some really good players at Frankfurt. But I think it's probably the riskiest managerial appointment Bayern have made, and I can't think how long. I mean, like maybe Van Gaal was maybe a bit risky, but even he was had a wealth of experience when he joined them back in the late 2000s. So. Yeah, it's really interesting, and obviously another sticking point as well is the future of Robert Lewandowski.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's been quite his future has been thrown into doubt. It seems more likely than ever that he'll leave Bayern for kind of one last shot at a big
one
club.
last paycheck.
Could you only imagine that being at Real Madrid?
Real Madrid are kind of the outstanding candidates, aren't they? It kind of is in their up to them now what they decide to do with the Ronaldo money. But I don't know. And they've obviously made some positive signs as well. Obviously, Goretzka's come in for free from Schalke. Apparently, they're looking at Pavard. Obviously, he's had a great World Cup. Although, I mean, they've got Joshua Kimmich at right back. So I don't really see how that works.
Pavard is actually a centre half.
Oh, really?
Yeah, okay, maybe a Boateng replacement in the long term.
Yeah, fair play. And apparently Dembele as well and Martial. But I mean, they clearly need renewal on the flanks going forward. Obviously, Ribéry and Robben. I mean, Robben, as evergreen as he is, can only stay kind of
fit for about 15 games.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, what do you reckon?
Well, no, I think it is a risk. I think you're right. I think Kovac is probably the biggest risk, given that they've recently appointed the likes of Carlo Ancelotti and Jupp Heynckes has come back, where they're just not taking any risks in those kind of appointments. Whereas Kovac is a bit risky, but then you look at the rest of the league, I still don't see any real challenges coming out there. I think Lucien Favre is a pretty average appointment for Borussia Dortmund, and Borussia Dortmund were pretty awful last season. I don't think Schalke have really progressed this summer. Obviously, they've lost Leon Goretzka, one of their best players, to Bayern Munich as well, so I don't see them competing. RB Leipzig potentially. Obviously, they've taken Nagelsmann as well, so I think Leipzig maybe next season is going to be their real year, whereas this year, I think Bayern are going to be okay. I don't think they'll potentially win it by the 20 odd or so points that we've come accustomed to, but they'll be fine, Bayern Munich. And I'm more concerned about some of the signings they're potentially willing to let go. Thiago has been all over the German presses. Apparently they're willing to sell it. Now, I know that Thiago is injury prone, but for me, on his day, probably one of, if not the best, central midfielder in the entirety of Europe. So I'm sure there'll be loads of suitors for him if he does come available. But I think Bayern Munich's general policy, I know Abitesh has talked about them bringing in young players. I think that's a positive. I think some of their signings have been really, really good over the last few years. I think Niklas Süle in particular will be a standout player for Bayern Munich going forward for the next few years. Tolisso looked fantastic over the last season. Also think that the likes of Kingsley Coman, we all know about Kingsley Coman. He's definitely going to flourish when Ribéry and Robben start to fade away. So
I forgot about Coman actually. Yeah.
I think when we talk about their forward line maybe needing a bit of freshen up, I think they'll probably one signing away from being just as good as they were last year, and the proviso they don't lose Robert Lewandowski. And if they lose Lewandowski, it's going to command a huge fee anyway.
Really difficult. But who comes in for Lewandowski if they do lose it?
I imagine that they'll probably just dip into Timo Werner and take him for 60 mil and not bat an eyelid. They can seemingly, in the same way Juventus can with Italy, dip into any lower league side and just take their best player.
Yeah.
So
I tend to agree with you two. I think Bayern will be, even with Niko Kovac, and what will be an adaptation period after that. Jupp Heynckes played really well in the second half of last season, although they didn't go all the way in the Champions League, obviously. But it's a massive year for the other teams, really. They've really got to step up. I mean, Dortmund finished 29 points behind Bayern last year. Went through 2 managers. They've now got Lucien Favre, who obviously had a good couple of years at Nice, but last year was a bit of a disappointment. And Dortmund really need to get their act together because they can't keep on losing. They've lost Gundogan, Aubameyang, Mkhitaryan, Hummels all over the last 2 years.
It now seems likely Weigl might leave as well now that Jorginho's going to Chelsea.
So it's just, you can't lose that depth of talent and imagine that you can stay at the top. And they've been linked heavily with Wolf Zaha this week, which I think is an interesting signing, but not necessarily going to have the goals output or the assists output that they need to, challenge Bayern.
Especially when they're getting rid of Yarmolenko's.
He's gone. He's gone. West Ham have announced it. And I think that potentially, let's say Dortmund aren't even challengers, and it is Leipzig. Obviously, Rangnick's come back, but the loss of Naby Keita is a massive blow to RB Leipzig next season. It is absolutely huge. I think they bought in Kuna from Sion in Switzerland. I think he got 10 or so goals last year for about 16 million euros. And generally, they do good young business, RB Leipzig, don't they? We've seen them bring in the likes of Adelola Lookman on loan. He was a brilliant signing in the back end of last season. They've lost him. He's gone back to Everton. They've lost Keita. He's gone to Liverpool. So a little bit like Dortmund, they're losing a lot of big players, Leipzig, and it's not easy to replace them. Whereas you look at Bayern, haven't really lost anything.
This is true. And there's talks of Forsberg moving off this World Cup as well. I think Everton are quite interested in him. So it's going to be a really interesting next year in the Bundesliga. How do you think? I mean, the big question always is for Bayern, if this league is wrapped up, how do you think they'll do in the Champions League? The Champions League, I think, is going to be fascinating.
That's the tough one as well, because I think Bayern, I've tipped them to win the Champions League almost every year for the last 4 years.
Really?
And it just doesn't happen for them every single time. I think that's where they might fall short.
Yeah, I think as well. We all tipped it, especially when Carlo came through the door, right? When Carlo came through the door, a Champions League superstar in Carlo Ancelotti knew how to win the competition. We thought this is the perfect appointment to win it, and it just didn't happen. Kovac, not an awful lot of experience in the Champions League, a little bit risky, but then you look at the other teams, the major teams, they've also had massive surgery, other than maybe Man City. Real Madrid, are we expecting, honestly, Lopetegui to come in and dominate the Champions League in the same way Zidane did? I'm not really thinking that. I don't think Valverde is really going to do it at Barcelona either. Thomas Tuchel's just come in the door at PSG. He's probably going to have a little bit of a cooling period. Jose Mourinho's squad, not the best performances in the Champions League last season. Chelsea just got Sarri in the door.
They're not even in the Champions League.
Not even in the Champions League. F***ing hell, because they finished fifth.
I think
in
terms of the top teams, though, I'd say Barcelona probably are the most settled and most ready to go for it outside of the teams in England. I think Liverpool and Man City can have a really good run at this Champions League as well.
Yeah, I completely agree. And Juventus under Allegri, I'm sure now Ronaldo's joined. That's going to be their key goal, isn't it, winning the Champions League? They're going to basically fuck off Syria because they know they're going to win it anyway. Ronaldo's going to score 110 goals.
I don't know, I'm not so sure. But
you don't think Ronaldo's going to boss that league?
Well, he might boss the league, but it depends who they have to get rid of.
They're going to absolutely run away with it. Who was the Chelsea's challengers last year? Napoli. Lost the manager, lost the best central midfielder. Inter Milan, always in a turnover period. If Icardi doesn't turn over.
Napoli are linked with Di Maria as well.
Inter have done the best business this summer, I think.
But yeah, what do you guys think? Who do you think will win the Bundesliga? Is it Bayern's to lose? And how do you think Bayern will do in the Champions League? Let us know in the comments down below. So, on the topic of Italy, we have our next question from Daniel Rabba, and it is, what do you guys think about the rumoured links between Marcelo and Juventus? I think this would be a big shock, but Joe, what's your take on this?
Absolutely no chance this is happening. There's no way on earth that Real Madrid sell 2 of their superstars to Juventus in one summer. I think the reported fee is 40 to 60 million euros. Marcelo is so crucial to Madrid. I just can't see it happening in any world. I think he was creating over 2 chances a game last season. He's going to be even more vital with the loss of Cristiano Ronaldo. Look at their backup options as well.
40 to 60.
But he is 30 now. He's 30 years old. You look at their backup options as well. Obviously, Theo Hernandez coming in, 20 years old, would be a big risk to chuck him straight into the first team. If I'm Lopetegui and I'm coming into that Real Madrid dressing room, I want Ronaldo there. He's already gone, and I definitely want Marcelo there, and he's apparently leaving. No way Florentino Perez lets Marcelo go in a million years. And do Juventus even need him? I don't really see Alexandro joining United anymore. Just can't see that move happening.
Yeah. I don't know, I mean, it's not just United, is it? PSG are also after Alexandro reportedly as well.
Yeah. Well, Tuchel said, right, that the fullbacks weren't good enough as soon as he came in the door at PSG.
So, you'd imagine that he'd be he'd be a decent fit anywhere, but Yeah, I think it depends on Juve as well, because I mean, yeah, even 40 to 60 million after that outlay on Ronaldo is quite a lot for a Juve signing.
Although they're going to have the cash apparently, because Daniel Regani's moved to Chelsea's pretty much signed up.
Yeah,
and Higuain will be on the move as well.
Will be going, yeah. But I mean, even then, I don't know. Yeah, it depends how much they can recoup from those two players.
It feels like such lazy journalism.
Yeah, for sure.
It was all kicked off because Marcelo followed Juventus on social media.
Yeah.
I mean, is that really the basis of a transfer rumour these days?
Of course it is these days. Yeah.
I think it's pathetic.
I love it. Apparently as well, though, Marcelo did tell Florentino Perez after the Champions League final that if Ronaldo leaves, I leave.
Really?
Oh, that's a big statement.
Everyone was being so sassy after the Champions League final, weren't they? Bale, Ronaldo, Marcelo.
Yeah, Bale got what he wanted, didn't he?
And also, if I was Juventus, I'd be well worried that Real Madrid, when they next came in, would go, I mean, I can't believe they didn't do it with Ronaldo, but go, okay, any deal now, we want Dybala.
Yeah.
Can't believe they didn't do it with Ronaldo. I mean, they might well have, but...
Yeah, I mean, that was why my worry originally when Ronaldo went to Juve was that if they have to sell Higuain and Dybala as a result, then they're not really getting what they want, is it?
Like, I mean, I would,
because Ronaldo doesn't replace their goals.
You don't think?
Not combined. No.
Oh, I don't know. I think he gets them pretty close. If I was Max Allegri, I'd be thinking, how can I shift Higuain out for 30 to 40 million euros? And even more potentially, if I can get a deal in China.
I mean, yeah, he's prime.
I'm not sure where like that. There was so much talk about Morata going back to Juventus. I'm not sure where that leaves. The Ronaldo move leaves him as well.
Dead as a dodo.
I think he's got to stay at Chelsea, hasn't he? Now?
Well, apparently very unhappy there, but then with a new manager, we'll see what happens. But Higuain going to Chelsea.
Regani's also rumoured to be leaving, isn't he? 35 million euros a deal to Chelsea seems very close. Arsenal are already interested as well. So if they can recoup, 60%, 70% of the Ronaldo deal from selling Higuain and Regani, I'd be pretty happy with that if I was a Juventus fan.
Yeah.
And I know that Higuain he's done okay, but let's be honest, Higuain was bought in as a big risk. Higuain was bought in as the player to win in the Champions League. 2 seasons later, he's gotten to a final. They've had to bring Ronaldo in through the door. So I would suggest it's Higuain's time to leave now.
Yeah, for sure. Oh, definitely. I think. I can't see him staying
with that return though. What was it? 25 league goals probably in both years.
No, I think one time he got over 30.
Oh, did he? Okay,
I think in his first season he was 30 plus.
But back to Marcelo. Like if he was to leave Real Madrid in this hypothetical situation, who do you think Lopetegui would be his first choice to replace him?
I mean, his first choice at left back for Spain was Jordi Alba, wasn't it? So he's obviously not going to be able to go out and get him. And there's really not that many good fullback options on the market. Alexandro, potentially one of them. Could there be some sort of swap deal if it was happen? I can't see it happening in a million years.
David Alaba from Bayern, I don't know.
I can't see them buying, selling Alaba or Kimmich. They're two of their prime stars at the moment, aren't they? Two of the academy boys. I think they would go absolutely mental if they lost either of those to Bayern faithful. Just there's not many.
Although Alaba would maybe be the most natural replacement for Marcelo in terms of his skill set.
Yeah, potentially. But Benjamin Mendy obviously moved to City. That deal's gone. PSG struggling for fullbacks. Man United struggling for fullbacks.
That's a good point actually from you, Joe. I reckon in world football it's probably the weakest position.
It's really not
absolutely star quality.
Considering it's the most in demand as well.
Fullbacks with the new way of playing. Exactly. You've seen it in this World Cup. How many right centre backs are now playing and the fullbacks.
I mean, there's a fair few strong wing backs, but we've obviously seen Real Madrid classically play with a 4. So I'd be very surprised if they opted for a wing back.
Maybe Marcos Alonso from Chelsea maybe had a push.
Like you look at the Premier League sides. Andy Robertson, Ashley Young, Benjamin Mendy, Marcos Alonso and Ben Davies. None of them are top Real Madrid quality.
No.
PSG obviously struggling. Juventus, Alexandro didn't even get much game time.
On the other side, they had Lichtsteiner and Asamoah.
And then Alaba, obviously, I think he's pretty much stuck in his ways at Bayern Munich. I don't see him leaving.
Yeah,
So I just don't see in a million years why Real Madrid would sell their best left back and the world's best left back for 40 million euros. Don't need the f***ing money, do they? They've just got to offer Ronaldo.
But what do you guys think? Do you think Marcelo will leave to Juventus? Do you think he'll stay there? We want to know your thoughts in the poll. Yeah, up there. Right, so now it's time for quickfire questions as usual now, and our first one comes from @John77 _John. Again, just an extra John in there. And he asks, who has been your favourite pundit throughout this World Cup? Really tricky one. There's not so many good options. I'm actually going to kick things off. I think the BBC should sack Loro right now. I'll personally remove him from the BBC building. And I do rate, though, on the BBC
He's so
team.
entertaining, though.
Oh, he's such a
Oh,
nut.
he's actually.
I do actually, the one guy that I do quite rate, I like Danny Murphy. I don't think he's a great co-commentator. I think Kevin Kilban is pretty good at his job. I think Rio Ferdinand brings a lot of passion.
Yeah, Rio's the best pundit.
But on the ITV team, I think you can't look further than Gary Neville.
Yeah.
I think he's just outstanding. But yeah, what do you guys think?
Yeah, I agree. G Nevs is good. I think Rio is actually probably the best pundit of the lot at this tournament. I love Gary Neville on Sky Sports. I think his Monday Night Football analysis is brilliant. But Rio Ferdinand's insight has been incredible throughout the whole tournament. I also think Alex Scott has been brilliant.
Yeah.
She's brought something
fair.
totally different. But my favourite, Ali McCoist. Great to hear a Scottish voice commentator again. He's just such a good commentator. If somebody does not hire Ali McCoist after this World Cup as like a second in command commentator, as an analysis man, is a joke.
What's he doing now? Because he was in Question of Sport for
I
quite a
don't
while.
know,
I'm
but
not too sure.
That
get
was quite a
him
while.
in the commentary
Yeah.
box, Sky Sports, because he has smashed it. Everybody has loved him on Twitter,
Yeah, no,
which
he
is
has
rare.
yeah, it's a shame actually. I only heard him commentate on a couple of games, but yeah, he was very astute in both. I'm gonna go. Yeah, I think Alex Scott actually was really good. I've not seen much where they're in the studio and the pundits actually have a really good relationship and they fire off each other quite well. But I was watching one highlights show and it was really odd actually. It was Alex Scott and Matthew Upson. I don't usually rate Matthew Upson at all, but they were actually making really good points and having a proper conversation about football rather than just kind of trying to get one up on each other or whatnot. And that was I thought that was really refreshing. It was a really random moment. I think it was just some random highlights show of a couple of group games. But I thought that was the best punditry I saw all tournament.
Just shout out to the worst as well, Roy Keane. It's just abysmal. It's unwatchable, Roy Keane at times. He's unwatchable. He is the most bitter man I've ever watched commentate. Just awful. Awful, man.
Also, shout out to Enia Luca. I thought she did well on ITV, but she also had to deal with Henrik Larsson, who was being such a dick throughout. He hasn't smiled since he retired. And they were literally patronising her so much, so shout out to Enia Luca. Anyway, we move on. Eliseo's got our next one, and he says, who do you think will get the biggest transfer after this World Cup? McCubbin, what are you thinking? Mystic Mike, what are you predicting?
I'm not actually sure. You'll have to come back to me.
I'll jump in then. I think most of the best players have already locked down to big clubs. You look at some of the likes of Varane and stuff, not going to get a massive move. I think potentially, people will shout me down here, but Harry Maguire is in with a shout. Harry Maguire will command a massive fee because he's English and he's playing in the Premier League. I can just totally see Man United spending £60 million on
Daily Mail saying exactly that this morning.
Yeah, honestly, I can just sort of player that will get a big money move off the back of this World Cup. Having said that, it's not just off the back of this World Cup. I think he's actually won Player of the Season at every club he's been at. I think Sheffield United, Hull, and now Leicester City. And last season, Leicester City were packed with some big names in there.
I think the thing is with Maguire as well is that he could. I don't know. I can see Leicester really trying to hang on to him because they're building quite an exciting team.
Yeah,
this summer, aren't they?
They definitely are.
I think.
Any further thoughts, McCubbs?
I also think. I mean, maybe Jordan Pickford. You know, like he's had a big stand-up.
Liverpool, imagine that. Liverpool coming for an Everton keeper. That'd be class.
That'd be crazy. But I think also like. I don't know, that Croatia team, I think someone like Rebic could get a big move off this World Cup, although I think I feel like with Rebic it's one of those ones where it's like he's been a player whose name's come up kind of in every game and has been part of a very good team, but whether he could actually recreate that form at club level he might be someone who gets a big move and then actually disappoints on.
I think potentially one other Pavard. I think Pavard might have got himself into the reckoning with a few big clubs.
100%. I was really impressed with him throughout the tournament, especially as he's playing out of position. Another couple of Croatians. I think Vršalko's played very well at right back. I know he's already at Atleti. They're probably loath to let him go. I thought Vida was quite good as centre back as well. Apparently, Liverpool.
Just think they're all too old though. All of these Croatian players are coming towards the end of their career.
I think Vida's at Besiktas, and apparently Liverpool are looking at him. That might just be a rumour because Dejan Lovren's already there.
I think he's the best centre back in the world as well. So.
He is the best centre back. They don't need another one. But
not bitter or anything.
Yeah, I think who else could get a big move? There's been various stars for the France team, but none of them. They're already sort of established, aren't
established
they?
names, man.
If Griezmann hadn't already signed that new deal, I think he'd be the player that Real Madrid should have gone for, really. But yeah, that's all done and dusted. But yeah, who do you guys think should get the big next transfer? Let us know in the comments below. And we move on to who do you think has been the player of the tournament at this World Cup? And that comes in from Ali Abdullah, a regular contributor. So thank you very much, Ali. Makabin, player of the tournament?
Ooh, I mean, you just mentioned Griezmann. I think he has to get a shout out. I think Mbappe's stolen a little bit of his thunder up front. I think he scored 4 and assisted 2. So I think he's contributed to as many goals.
He's contributed to 20 goals in 20 games for France.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's really amazing. That's like
and he's been something like involved in 10 of their last 13 knockout goals in a major tournament.
That's crazy. So I think Griezmann's quite hard to look past. Also, I think Luka Modric went a little bit quiet in the games against Russia and Denmark, but obviously the mental strength to score in the shootout after missing against Denmark, but then came in that second half against England was just so dominant, and obviously in the group stages he was very dominant as well. So I think if Croatia win, I think he'll certainly get the golden ball, won't he?
I think it's going to be one of the French boys. I think for me potentially N'Golo Kante. Don't think he's put a foot wrong the entire tournament. Over the last few years, his progression has just been mind blowing. He's kind of gone from a good destroyer at Leicester to then being the best box-to-box midfielder in world football, or up there within the top 3 at least. He's an absolute beast. His distribution at this tournament has been unbelievable. Nobody even associated with him with being a sort of line press breaking central midfielder ever, and at this tournament he's completely done that and more. Also, there's definitely a shout for Varane. Rafa Varane at this tournament has been a monster. He not single-handedly, but he just destroyed Romelu Lukaku from between France
and credit where credit's due. I know we've been critical of Lloris in the past, but he's had a really strong tournament as well, particularly in that semi-final. So it's quality. I think player of the tournament, I would have hands down gone for Coutinho until they got knocked out. I thought he was superb, pretty much like single-handedly along with Neymar. Got Brazil to that stage. Really disappointing result. I think it was almost a freak result against Belgium. But I was just thinking, I'm going back to biggest transfer after this World Cup. I think Golovin's moving to Juventus, which would be a great signing for them. I think, especially if Pjanic moves to Barcelona.
Exciting signing.
Especially if Pjanic moves to Barcelona. So yeah, fair play to them. Yeah, all the big names have already been mentioned. I just think the player of the tournament, or certainly the young player of the tournament, will be Mbappe. I just thought he's been absolutely electric. Can't really look past him. Rakitic, nerves of steel, sealing 2 winning penalties and penalty shootouts. I actually thought he went slightly under the radar against England. I thought he was better than Modric. But yeah, that's just my personal opinion.
Rakitic.
Yeah, I thought Rakitic was quality.
You're mental.
Final quickfire question. At Kyle WXB_. And he says, has this been the most interesting and entertaining World Cup in your living memory? Joe?
Yes, but I wonder whether I'm slightly tainted because England have done so well. I do think this has been exciting in the fact that I think the quality level of every team has risen. I can't remember a World Cup in recent memory where everybody has been this good, and you've seen this many shots. And you've seen this many big teams crash out because the lower level teams have raised their game so much. For instance, take Russia. Russia, for me, were obviously one of the surprise packages, but their actual footballing ability was superb. Players like Golovin coming through Russia, you just wouldn't have seen in 2006, I don't think.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I guess it's
Senegal as well, teams like that, very exciting, crashed out the group stages.
It was a shame for Senegal as well to crash out. I think teams like Sweden as well came into the tournament very strong, and I think were underestimated. It's definitely been the most interesting, and I think it's just hands down been the best. Probably in my lifetime, or at least since I started following football in the early 2000s. I remember the last World Cup was a bit of a goal fest, but then that was mainly down to the fact that the defences were just rubbish. And at this World Cup, you've seen teams like Sweden, Brazil, France, even England's defence has been pretty solid up until the Croatia game. Just I don't know. I just think tactically and. Tactically, I don't know, in terms of the managers, in terms of the way the team are drilled, I just think that there's been so much quality, which is not what you're used to at an international tournament.
Even the Japanese, watching the Japanese, they played beautiful football at times. Japan on the counter-attack, going through Shinji Kagawa, They were just
Inouye up
so
front, he was
good.
great.
So I think the quality level has just risen massively.
I think it will be a World Cup that remembers obviously for its big shocks. Brazil, Argentina, Germany, even teams like Poland, who I expected to do well, were just awful. But it will also be remembered as the World Cup of the set piece. I mean, the amount of set piece goals.
Yeah, man.
Obviously helped by VAR, which I think has been a fantastic addition as well. I don't really get those pundits that don't understand it. How can you argue with a system that makes it more likely that there's going to be more, correct decisions?
The people that don't like VAR are the same fucking morons that don't like Raheem Sterling.
Yeah.
There is probably some sort of correlation, isn't there, to draw a Venn diagram.
I think we'll need a really thrilling final, and then this will be hands down the best World Cup that I can remember. 2010 was an absolute ball fest, really. 2006 had two cracking teams in the final, but I don't think it was that good either. 2014, outstanding team in Germany.
We're used to it dropping off in the knockout stages as well, just it becoming shit in the knockout stages, and it hasn't the excitement has remained.
I remember after the first round of fixtures in the office, everyone was like, "This is an awful World Cup," and we were just like, "Hold on." Like the first round, it's always going to be edgy. First round, but the excitement level's just gone through the roof. But yeah, guys, we want to know, what have you made of this World Cup? Has it been the most exciting, the most watchable in living memory? Let us know in the comments down below. So that was Continental Club for another week. I hope you enjoyed it wherever you're watching. There's loads more content across EFD, Football Daily. Go back and check out 90+1's old videos as well. Thanks very much for joining us, lads.
No worries.
Cheers.
And we'll see you next time.